Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government begins flood prevention sensitization, opening of blocked water channels. IGP orders commencement of promotion process for inspectors and others. Plus, NATO's Stoltenberg says alliance must ensure Ukraine prevails. The details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is the Director General of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, George Mugalu, who says the agency is taking proactive measures to open up blocked channels, essentially to avoid the unprecedented flood experienced across the country last year. Mugalu stated this in a chat with State House correspondents today after the private meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. The NIWA boss explained that the agency is carrying out massive sensitization of the rivers Niger and Benue are made navigable for vessels to have access to other ports being developed. It will be recalled that in 2022, Nigeria experienced what was described as the worst flood disaster in a decade, as over 1.4 million people were displaced, over 603 persons were killed, and federal government has disclosed that plans are already underway to see to the evacuation of Nigerians in Sudan as the country's crisis continues to deepen. This move was occasioned by a request made by Nigerian students pleading that they should be evacuated from the currently troubled Sudan. In response to the request made by the Nigerian students, the federal government, through the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCAM), said meetings are being held as to how best to handle the evacuation process. According to a statement signed today by NIDCAM spokesman Gabriel Odu, the Commission's chairman and CEO Abike Erewa says the Commission has received the letter of solicitation by Sudan chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Students (NAN) for possible evacuation of students, especially consulting with the Nigerian mission in Sudan and other relevant agencies. Recall that Sudan is witnessing hostilities between two generals who seized power to support forces RSF. Meanwhile, the federal government has approved the second phase of the Electronic Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF), which will enable concessionaires to upgrade the infrastructure at 15 billion naira. Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige disclosed this to newsmen at the Federal Executive Council meeting (FEC), which was presentment of outdated labour laws to meet globally accepted standards prescribed by the International Labour Organization. He added that the approval was meant to refine the process to avoid revenue losses to the labour employing organizations. In the meantime, the federal account allocation claims a decrease of 8.05 billion naira compared to the 722.68 billion naira shared in February 2023. FAC disclosed this in a communique issued at the end of its latest meeting in Abuja. According to the communique, the total amount includes gross statutory revenue, value-added tax, and electronic money transfer levies. The release noted that the federal government received 276.14 billion naira, the states received 232.13 billion naira, and the local government councils got 171.26 billion naira, while the oil-producing states received 35.1 billion naira as derivation, 13% of mineral revenue. 2.24 billion naira amid reports of an existing court order restraining it from proceeding with the project. The Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Clem Abba, who said he was unaware of any court order on the project, disclosed this to newsmen shortly after the federal executive includes Birdman Securities Consultant and Suppliers Limited as the project sponsor, Africa Finance Corporation (UFC) as the lead financier, and Huawei Technologies as the lead technical service provider. Abba said the concessionaire had furnished the government with $9 million security from the satisfactory performance of the project. The concessionaire will take 45% of all that accrues to the comprehensive input service scheme, while 55% goes to the federal government. On census now, the federal government has urged persons with disabilities, PWDs, to stand out and ensure that they are persons with disabilities. James Lalu Banefo Michael Lalu gave the charge while speaking at a town hall meeting with stakeholders organized by the National Population Commission (NPC) to sensitize the public on the 2023 census. He appealed to people in the forthcoming population census will give them a sense of belonging. Away from that, the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo has stated that the country needs to accelerate industrialization to lift Nigerians out of energy poverty. Osibanjo said these at the just concluded Nigerian International Development cannot be overemphasized, and further urged stakeholders in the oil and gas sector to form alliances with the government to deliver gas and other cleaner energy sources to the world. According to him, Nigeria and Africa are crucial to delivering sustainable energy of the future. From the legislature now, where the National Assembly Joint Committees on Aviation led by Christine Olujemi and Nolim Naji have directed the Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika to halt the planned demolition of the offices of aviation agencies in Lagos. The directive was given following a two-day warning strike by aviation workers' unions that disrupted flight operations across Nigeria on Monday and Tuesday. The committees expressed concerns about the frequency of committees. Also directed the minister to provide all documents relating to the workers' grievances, including the non-implementation of the minimum wage adjustment agreed in February 2022 and the non-release of reviewed conditions of service by relevant government agencies for a decade. The joint committees further stated that the threats of demolition without alternative authority and the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency were unacceptable. Still on legislative matters, members-elect of the House of Representatives are launching another alliance soon, ahead of the inauguration of the Pathfinders. The Pathfinders group would be the third coalition or alliance by members-elect of the 10th House towards the election and selection of leaders for the legislative chamber, especially the presiding officers, Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Election victory invited him to visit the war-torn country. This was disclosed in a statement made available to newsmen by the office of the president-elect and signed by Tunde Rahman. Zelensky, in a congratulatory letter he personally signed, expressed delight at the peaceful conduct of Nigeria's general elections and particularly praised the victory of Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria, adding that his country is determined to further strengthen cooperation with Nigeria. Zelensky used the opportunity of the goodwill message to extend his invitation to the president-elect to visit Ukraine on a state visit as soon as he settles down in office after the inauguration on May 29, 2023. The judiciary now, where the Justice Hamza Muazu of an FCT High Court sitting at Maitama has adjourned until May 12. The ruling in a preliminary objection suit filed by the embattled chairman of the Labour Party LP Julius Abure and one other. The other respondents are the National Secretary Farouk Ibrahim, Clement Ojukwu and Oluchi Okpara. According to reports, they are challenging the jurisdiction of a court to entertain a matter filed by Martins Isikbali John, Lucky Shuaibu, Isa Zakari, Omobai Frank, Abokai Aliu, Ayokari Latif, John Eloma, and Ayobami Arabambi. Elections in Adamawa State paid a nocturnal visit to the state government house before the conclusion of the poll. Reports had said that the alleged meeting aimed to ostensibly rig the polls for the incumbent governor Amadou Fintiri. It was alleged that the officials met with some persons at the government house where they received a list of collation and Return Population Commission (NPC) has said that the mentally deranged, homeless people and every living being in Nigeria would be counted in the upcoming 2023 housing and population counting. The NPC Federal Commissioner representing Ondo State, Diran Iyantan, said this in Akure at a one-day capacity building workshop for the 2023 Population and Housing Census Publicity Committee. Iyantan, who assured Nigerians that the 2023 census would have at least 98% success, explained that the purpose of the workshop was not to undermine the professionalism of the police to drive the exercise due to the psyche of the public. In a separate development, the police have set up the Departmental Selection Board (DSB) for the screening and selection of deserving members of the Inspectorate Cadre for recommendation to the Police Service Commission Officer CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi. The IGP Usman Alkali Baba gave the directive to the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Department of Finance and Administration to coordinate the Force Secretary for the setting up of Departmental Selection Board for the screening and selection of deserving members, the Commissioner of Police Welfare to compile a list of members of the rank and file who are due and deserving of elevation to their next ranks. He said the IGP, while noting that regular and timely elevation of deserving officers to their next ranks would boost the morale of officers and men of the force, charged the officers to be exemplary and exhibit professionalism to sustain the manpower development drive. And Chair Ibrahim has announced the deployment of 780 personnel for robust security arrangements and crime prevention. Abraham disclosed that those deployed would maintain safety before, during, and after this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration in Gombe. The Commandant's announcement was contained in a press statement signed by the Public Relations Officer of the Command, DSC Bahari Saad. According to him, personnel would be deployed on major roads, motor parks, shopping centers, and black spots across the state for adequate security of lives and property. He encouraged Muslim faithful to propagate peace, demonstrate love, forgiveness, and tolerance irrespective of religious affiliation. Site in Iwofe, Rumer Birikom community, Obiakpo local government area, River State. The illegal site is located right at the back of a functional petrol station on Iwofe Road. 4 suspects were arrested on site, while the cops are on the trail of the Honor Anti-Vandal Land Patrol team following credible intelligence. Commandant Oga said preliminary investigation reveals that the suspects carved out stencils with Total and Mobil Oil emblems, which are used as stickers on the packaged products before distribution to would-be buyers. Still to come in the news.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the Times DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics.
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed security.
Education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murder.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens.
Many thanks for staying tuned. We move on now to Africa, where explosions and gunfire resounded in Sudan's capital today as fighting between the forces of two rival generals erupted Saturday between forces loyal to Sudan's army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). Some of the fiercest battles have taken place in the capital Khartoum, a city home to 5 million people, most of whom have been cloistered in their homes without electricity. It has shot down 2 military helicopters in a reprisal attack against the army. The group said the army attacked its fighters in Omdurman, near the capital Khartoum today, despite the truce announced on Wednesday. The paramilitary group said it remained committed to the ceasefire. Meanwhile, the army has confirmed the return of most of its soldiers held by Sudan's Rapid Support Forces (RSF), as the paramilitary group battles the Sudanese army for a 6th day in Sudan on Wednesday to evacuate the troops, and they were safe and in good health. He noted that the evacuation had taken place under comprehensive security. Securely moved to Egypt's embassy in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, would be evacuated once the situation stabilizes and the convenient security conditions allow their return to the country. In a related development, Kenya's President William Ruto has said he is deeply alarmed by what he called a misunderstanding over the timing of the inauguration. Reports say that he is one of 3 African heads of state meant to be flying to Sudan's capital Khartoum to mediate an end to the fighting. After 5 days of immediately ceasefire to allow unrestricted humanitarian access and to allow the mediation delegation to land. The rival party in Sudan amid the deadly fighting. Reports say Haftar heads Libya's parallel government in control in the east of the country, but is not recognized by the international community. Reports to one party against the other. He said the army was ready to play a mediating role between the rival parties in Sudan. Recall that the Sudan Army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) have been fighting since last Saturday in clashes that have reportedly killed Vice President Yoweri Museveni not to sign a draconian anti-gay bill passed by Parliament last month, as he met with harsh penalties against anyone who engages in same-sex activity has been roundly condemned by the international community and rights legislation. According to activists, under the bill, anyone who engages in same-sex activity could face life imprisonment, while repeat offenders could be sentenced to death. Meanwhile, lawyers for the government have advised the president to send the bill back to Parliament. According to a letter sent by a judge today, ordered the imprisonment of Rajat Ganochi, a leader of main opposition party Ennahda and a prominent critic of President Kais Saied. According to reports, Ghannouchi, who was arrested on Monday, is accused of plotting. Have this year detained several leading political figures who have accused Saied of a coup for his moves to close parliament and rule by decree before rewriting the constitution. Meanwhile, the 81-year-old was the speaker of the elected now, where French police fired tear gas today in a village in southern France, where President Emmanuel Macron visited a school a day after he was booed and heckled over his unpopular pension reform. After facing angry voters, according to reports, the trips outside Paris are intended to signal his desire to turn the page on his unpopular pensions changes and demonstrate he is not hiding from voters, shouting "Macron, resign," and blowing whistles try to advance towards the school. Still on the foreign scene, SpaceX giant's new rocket blasted off on its first test flight today, but exploded minutes after rising from a 120-meter Starship rocket on a round-the-world trip from the southern tip of Texas near the Mexican border. It carried no people or satellites. Reports say the plan called for the booster to peel away from the spacecraft minutes after liftoff, but that did not happen. The spacecraft was supposed to continue east and attempt to circle the world before crashing into the Pacific near Hawaii. In the meantime, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg made an announcement. This comes as several countries pledged more aid to the embattled country. The reports say a number of Ukrainian servicemen have been accused of treason for giving away information. A mysterious flash that lit up the skies over the Ukrainian capital Kiev has generated a NASA satellite falling to Earth, but the US Space Agency said it was still in orbit. The Ukrainian Air Force was urged by a Russian air attack. In it added that the flash had also been seen over neighboring Belarus to the north, and Ukraine's Space Agency said it was probably related to a cosmic body entering the dense layers of the atmosphere. Meanwhile, at least 78 people have been reportedly killed in a crash at a school in the Yemeni capital Sana'a during a distribution to about $9 per person. Meanwhile, the country's interior ministry said 2 local businessmen who allegedly arranged the event had been arrested and an investigation was ongoing.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It's another business day, and my name is Blyden Okem. In the news, we begin with the agricultural market. Raw sugar traded as 24 cents. As the Asian cane crushing season has started to wind down, key producing countries including India, Thailand, China, million tons in the current marketing year from previous forecasts of 34.5 million tons amid unseasonal rainfalls. At the same time, sugar product Brazil, with a higher sugarcane supply, would likely be allocated to ethanol. The prices of crude oil have increased in the last few weeks, and the end of gasoline tax exemptions in Brazil will make biofuel blending a lot more profitable. In Europe, looking at the euro area interest rates, most European Central Bank (ECB) policymakers agreed to raise key interest rates by 50 basis points last month, though some members would have preferred not to increase them until the financial market tensions have subsided, according to accounts of the central bank's March policy meeting. Still, ECB officials widely concurred on the resilience of the euro area banking systems, noting that the central bank to deliver a 25 basis point rate increase in May, and the other 2 are expected by mid-year after raising borrowing costs at a faster pace on record to combat inflation. In Nigeria, The financial stability of Union Bank of Nigeria is at risk as the comments for 2022 released on Wednesday. Union Bank is facing legal actions worth 1.497 trillion naira from a single case, which is 53.2% of the company's 2.79 trillion naira total assets. The lawsuit, the Federal High Court has awarded 1.495 trillion naira to the claimant against the firm, according to reports. However, it's time for the Nigerian stock market report. And the bulls are back. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the All-Share Index climbed 146.73 basis points to close at 51,355.74 points, compared with a 23% improvement in deals. Looking at the current market capitalization, the capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 28 trillion naira in the aggregate, 107 share price appreciation closing at 7 naira 15 kobo per share. On the losing side, Champion Breweries came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 9.96% at 4 naira 43 kobo per share. Transcorp Nigeria.
Leiden. Still to come in the news. Sisyphus sinks Chapel Valve in
knowledge or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at a hotel and suites for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards, an award ceremony set to reward hard work and excellence in the broadcast media. Vote out. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized
only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are advertised on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian, from issues on politics.
Hello, Nigeria.
Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Aniakin every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
And now in health, the Federal Ministry of Health says the country is facing a serious nutritional challenge in the area of undernutrition, micronutrient deficiency and overnutrition, which is the 17th ECOWAS Nutrition Forum in Abuja. According to reports, the 2021 Global Nutrition Report revealed that diets are not getting healthier and have been associated with of nutrition-specific and sensitive interventions, optimize use of resources for impact and solidarity between governments and partners to mobilize additional resources for nutrition. Government's strategic response to address Nigeria's nutrition challenges included the creation of an enabling policy environment for the national food and nutrition policy. Cases will continue to rise unless proactive measures are taken to break the pervading circle of ignorance. The professor of radiology, College of Medicine, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Enugu State, gave a warning in an interview with newsmen in Lagos. According to her, 10 Nigerians die every hour from cancer and 80,000 cancer deaths, 1,911 cancer cases with 124,815 new cases and 78,899 cancer deaths recorded % in developed world. The professor said that this had resulted in an estimated 100,000 children dying from cancer in developing countries. Preventable causes. Thanks for staying tuned. Now in sports, a two-time finalist at the Barcelona Open, Banks Sabadell, Stefanos Tsitsipas, moved a step closer to capturing his first title. To report, Tsitsipas is making his 5th appearance in Barcelona, with his best result runs to the final in 2018 and 2021. Chasing his first title of the season, he will next meet Alex de Minaur after the Australian received a walkover from Grigor Dimitrov. With his 70th clay court season with a victory against Slovakian qualifier Joseph Kovalik on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Canadian was aiming to reach his second quarterfinal of the year after advancing to the last 8 in Adelaide in January. A significant blow to his French Open preparations. The 36-year-old Spaniard has not played since losing in the second round of the Australian Open, but his hip flexor problem he suffered in Melbourne has badly disrupted his run-up to the tournament. The 22-time Grand Slam singles champion, who shares the men's record with Novak Djokovic, might set on a return at the start of the clay court season, but it did not come to fruition. In the meantime, Ja Morant was listed as out by the Memphis Grizzlies for Game 2 of their first-round playoff series after trying to break his fall on a drive with his right hand, with his wrist bending unnaturally. An MRI on Monday revealed a re-aggravation of soft tissue in his hand, having previously suffered an issue against the Milwaukee Bucks on April 7. Meanwhile, the Grizzlies listed Morant out prior to the start of Game 2 in Memphis on Wednesday, citing right-hand soreness, reports say the 23-year-old. Meanwhile, the United States and Mexico will bid to co-host the 2027 Women's World Cup. The football federations from the two countries had said. The U.S. Soccer and the Mets. According to reports, the United States has hosted the Women's World Cup twice before, in 1999 and 2003. While Mexico has never held the tournament. If successful, the tournament would take place 1 year after the 20 Shot in Space premiered in Russian cinemas today, as Moscow delighted in beating a rival Hollywood project amid a confrontation with the West over Ukraine. On board the orbiting laboratory, the Russian crew beat a Hollywood project announced in 2020 by Putin lauded the film. Still on entertainment, a Ghanaian rap artist, Obrafour, has slammed a $10 million lawsuit on multiple award-winning Canadian singer Drake over alleged copyright infringement. Drake sampled the remix of his 2003 song Onye Ohene in Calling My Name without his consent, according to the Ghanaian rapper, in a lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. The details of the suit indicated that Drake in the song, which was included in his latest album, Honestly Nevermind. Meanwhile, former American recording artist Robert Sylvester Kelly, professionally known as 3 counts of production of child pornography and 3 counts of enticement of a minor to engage in criminal sexual activity in a federal trial in 2022, was also found guilty of sexual molestation of a minor and sentenced to additional 20 years imprisonment in February 2020 at a minimum, order a new trial. However, in a new development, the 56-year-old singer in his appeal listed some reasons why his convictions. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, Nigerian singer Oyinkansola Sarah Aderibibe, also known as Ira Star, has named her mom as one of her fashion influencers. The celebrity crooner disclosed this in a recent interview with Newsweek, known right from when she was 5 that she was going to become a global pop star. She further said her dream collaborators are Burna Boy and Rihanna. You can find on our website spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. The name is Xavier Robert. Do have a good night rest. Bye-bye for now.